All right, everybody. Welcome to the Kick the Can podcast, episode 5. Really having a lot of fun with this podcast. The feedback from everybody and the back and forth between the followers. Who remembers this? Yeah, no. So really having fun with it. Hopefully everybody's enjoying it. Pass the word as always. We'll get some more listeners. And today I wanted to share one of my favorite Mount Carmel stories with the feast approaching in June and July. We were really fortunate growing up there in so many ways, but every summer we had the Feast of Our Lady of Mount Carmel and the Feast of St. Anthony. I think St. Anthony was in June and Our Lady of Mount Carmel was in August. They were a few weeks apart, and the feast was like 10 days long, 10 blocks long, bandstand, and a real social event. People came from other neighborhoods, but everybody from school, all the different hangout blocks. The guys from Dodge were there. The kids that lived on 183rd. Everybody from the Arthur Avenue playground. Not that everybody stayed there the whole night, but they went, passed through, hung out a little bit, then went on their way. So it was a fun time socially, the feast, and it was a big thing. I'm sure everybody would have a good story of their experiences at the feast, and hopefully you guys will share that stuff with me in the responses after you listen to the episode, which was back when I guess we were like 7th or 8th grade. So you're like 12 or 13. We, you go to the feast, maybe you get some Zeppelis and sausage and pepper sandwich. But what the feast was noted for was the raffling of the Cadillac. So they had this Cadillac parked in we called it the bazaar, where all the booths were. You had they had the caddy there, and people at a table selling the raffle tickets for the caddy, and that was a big thing. And in the bazaar was the normal stuff, the water gun with the balloons, ping pong balls. Try to grab the goldfish, but the stuffed animals and the like. But they also had a liquor booth. I think it was just wine. I don't know if there was alcohol there, just wine. So, naturally, mischievous as we were, we would go to the liquor booth and start off with like one kid, maybe one kid that looked a little bit like he was 16, and you try to win a bottle of wine, and everybody stands back, try to win a bottle of wine. Sooner or later you win the bottle of wine. And then you just run off. I remember it was on Belmont Avenue, right behind the church, on the side of the church. And there were some apartment buildings there with alleyways, and you would run down the cellar or the alleyway that was in between the buildings, and you would drink this bottle of wine, guzzle it down, and then go back and do it again.
It's a wheel.
Oh, the wheel. Yeah. So they spin the wheel and you win the bottle of wine. Now, as the night goes on, you're not happy with just getting 2 sips of of wine. You're going to go back, maybe 2 guys. Now you're covering 2 or 3 numbers. Boom, boom, boom. You wait. Bang, you win another bottle of wine. So as the evening goes on, more and more kids are coming around. They want in. And you're guzzling and then going back to the bazaar, and now you're covering almost the whole board with quarters with all kids, and the church in their divine manner, it was all about the money. It was all about the quarters. They weren't turning anybody away. They wanted that raffle wheel to spin, and grabbing the quarters, and we were grabbing the wine. So by the end of the night, or not even, after a couple hours, you got a bunch of drunk 8th graders, but still more guys would come around. Maybe they had to catch up. So we keep going at it and winning more wine and winning more wine, guzzling at it. But by the end of the night, you're covering almost all the numbers on the wheel, so you're winning a bottle on every spin. And then when the number hits, you got to picture this. 10 or 12 8th graders yelling out to the guy operating the wheel, Muscatel, Muscatel, Muscatel. Sure enough, we get our bottle of Muscatel, and off we go. Gross. That Muscatel was gross. And you had 10 to 12 kids really sick to their stomachs because, Muscatel and Zeppeli is not a good match. Muscatel and sausage and peppers, plus inexperienced drinkers just guzzling the cheap wine down. But I can still picture a bunch of guys screaming, Muscatel, Muscatel, and then having to go home all banged up from a hard night at the bazaar and at the feast. And I don't think we did it every single night. It might have been a novel thing. Maybe they cracked down on us. Who would want to go there and do the next night and get sick and drunk all over again? It's just wasn't a good thing to do. But so much fun. And people would just tag along. After we win the bottle, they didn't even have the quarters to put down. It was a fun time. I hope some guys, I know it was the usual suspects for me, the Hoffman Street guys, Steven Albano, Frankie Pagnotta, Larry was there, me, and a few other guys. Googie, of course. Just classic stuff. Classic as we went along. And maybe they finally did crack down on that game. But before they did, we had a memorable time doing it. And the feast was, you had like a bandstand at the end, and there was always an Italian singer or a local kid, a wannabe entertainer. It was fun. I don't remember. Maybe you guys could help me out with the responses. There was really no big talent there. Like Dion wasn't performing at the feast. He was already a big star. He probably was. Are you talking about in the mid to late 60s? He was big time by then, Dion. And I saw just recently that Dion is still working. He's got to be close to 80 years old. I think he's trying all kinds of different music. Lou Monte? Was that somebody that performed at the feast? Yeah, Lou Monte. That's right. Somebody just got in touch with us. Lou Monte it was. So that was great. Tonight we tried out some audio software, and I'll be able to have a guest on for the next show. Which we tried it. We did a mock-up with somebody, and I could hear them, they could hear me. So that's a big step for me to get. I think I'm doing okay talking for 35, 40 minutes, but it gets kind of tough. But like I said, I'm enjoying it, and I really like hearing from everybody. Crazy stuff when you hear people's names, and that they're sending you a message on Facebook and remembering this or remembering that. When am I going to talk about this? Then how sometimes people remember things differently, me included. But it's really a lot of fun. Really a lot of fun for me. And it's, I'm finding, like with my sons and their friends, a whole nother generation, they're really enjoying to hear about these stories. And some folks too, some kids that moved away, and they're getting a little homesick for Bronx, Yonkers, they hear some stuff, hear some familiar streets, hear me, and they're really enjoying that too. So keep spreading the word, telling your friends, telling your coworkers. It's not, I know it's like targeted, but I try to keep it entertaining. So when the stories, you say, "Oh wow, that's pretty funny," or "I can't believe it. You guys did this. You guys did that." I plan on talking about the 8th grade trip to Washington, D.C., boys department only, I remember. And I want you guys, first of all, if you were on that trip and you're following the podcast and listening, please, send me a message either on the email or on Facebook. I want to kick some ideas around before I talk about that trip. That was a real memory maker, that trip to Washington. So probably next episode I'll talk about that. But I wanted to have a little bit more feedback from some other guys that were on the trip, not just me, because I'm sketchy in the memory department. Some things I remember really well, and some things not so much. It's so whatever you can do, I appreciate it, and I think that'll be an enjoyable story. 8th grade trip to Washington D.C. Mount Carmel boys. I wanted to talk about today a little bit of a Sinatra story. I'm going to sprinkle in always some Sinatra stuff. People, they like the Sinatra stuff, I think. And we had gone, we went to Italy. And I had never been to Italy before. And we went to Italy. And we went... it was probably 1991, and we it was a lot of work to prepare the tour. We went there with a lot of people, and we flew commercial. Alitalia, that airline, I don't even think they're around anymore, but they sort of were a sponsor of the show through like a local promoters pretty much buy the whole show. They just buy it all, and we show up and go do it. They're responsible for everything, from getting the whole group to Italy, getting the venues, paying for all the hotel rooms and airline tickets all in advance. So basically, before Sinatra even gets on a plane and goes to Italy, the money is in the bank, the airline tickets are in hand, the hotels are already checked in. So that's how it works. With there's no, oh, how many tickets did you sell? Oh no, came up short. No, for Sinatra at this stage of his career, 1991, geez, he was maybe he was like 75 already. He's not going out of the country for $10,000. He's going, and he's bringing everybody. And leading up to the trip, like I said, we worked with the travel agent here, but the tickets were paid for by the promoters. And you give them passport information and lists of people that are going to be on the plane. You get their tickets, get hotel rooms for everybody, different hotels, like the musicians that came and the tech people, the sound and light guys. They would stay in a more modest hotel, where the Sinatra and the main staff would stay in, I guess it would be like a 4 or 5 star hotel. And we flew on Alitalia, like I said, and before we left, I had gone to Los Angeles 3 or 4 days before we left. We were going to fly, was it L.A. to Rome? And this Alitalia was so accommodating. I guess it was that whole, they're the Italian airline. Frank Sinatra's a famous Italian American, so they really bought into the whole thing about having this opportunity to service us in a way. And for me, it was, I couldn't believe what they were going to do. They let us cater the whole first class meal. I think we had the whole first class. And we told them what to serve, even told them where to buy the Muscatel, the good Italian bread in Los Angeles. We had just one person that was working for the airline, like a special operations person. It was really unbelievable, the way they accommodated us before we left. And you're going on a trip with a 75-year-old man that's been traveling, for 60 years, 50, 60 years. In the States, he naturally always went private, but occasionally he went out of the country. And when I was traveling, we always went on most of the time on a commercial jet. There were some trips we went on, which I'll talk about maybe in the future, that they were able to get their hands on like a 727 or a corporate jet, or loaned to them by Sinatra had some really influential friends. I think on one trip we had Lee Iacocca. I don't know if he was with Chrysler back then, but we had his jet, and it was a pretty big jet. We can go. I think we went to Hawaii on that plane. So I didn't go on that one, but I would go on the private jets occasionally. But somebody had to be there to make sure the work was all done. So the airline, when we got to LAX, Sinatra had contacts in the State Department and everything. They took him in. We took him to a private room in LAX, and somebody would check the passports, do all that check-in stuff, right there. We weren't waiting online, like a bank line and, going in and out, waiting for our turn to the counter. They accommodated us like that. And one thing they did, they took all of the people in the first class, all their luggage, and we brought it to a predetermined spot in LAX. And the plane was, I think it was a 747, and they had these large luggage containers, and they dedicated one just for the Sinatra party luggage. So, and that was another thing that, wow, I was impressed all along, the way they were, they had everything covered. They thought of everything, and whatever we asked for, there wasn't a no involved. Going over, everybody went all at once. There was Barbara Sinatra, the manager, the PR girl, the travel agent, the production manager, Sinatra's the wardrobe girl, me, a few other people. We all went over together. So it's a long flight. Sinatra, Jesus, he could just forget that he's maybe he doesn't want to do any more shows. So everybody did their part. We sat with him, and he was so gracious. He was really into it, and that's a long flight from LA to Rome. We really, there's a lot at stake. Not only for him, but we've got to get the money, got to do the shows, and with no problems. So there's, we fulfill our end of the bargain. So we fly over, beautiful, no delays, no nothing. And when we landed in Rome, now in Europe, it's not uncommon. Maybe now the security is a little tighter, but the planes would sometimes stay off from the terminal buildings, and the buses would come out and grab the passengers and the luggage and bring it in. It's not like now. I guess every airport has, a door and a gate with the accordion that comes out to the plane. This was not the case when we landed out there in Rome that day. So when we got off, when the plane stopped, they opened the doors. We sat there for a little bit. And we look out the window. There was a caravan of limousines, police, motorcycle police, a van for all the luggage. Still, I was still impressed one way or the other, because when Frank Sinatra worked here in the States, really nobody cared. The fans cared, but there was no paparazzi or none of that. It was just really fans that would try to get an autograph or get a picture, that stuff. So, but in Europe, the paparazzi is still, in full swing. They're out there. So by us keeping the plane, I guess, away from the terminal or the public, the paparazzi, I don't think they got too many pictures of us when we landed, and we pretty much came right off the plane. Once the luggage was off of that container, they put it all in a truck, and down we came, and we went into the cars, and I was wondering, when are they gonna, check the passports, at least something. We're coming into a foreign country, but they had all the passport information and I guess they just lined it up with the airline list, the names. So once we came down, excuse me, it was 4 or 5 limousines out there and the luggage truck, and in we go. And then we're driving like on the tarmac, and they open up a side gate of the airport, and out we go. It's just like that. This day and age, that would never happen. They don't even have side gates anymore at these airports. They're like walled up, and the way the security is. So out we went, and off we went to the hotel, and I was impressed with the whole day. We got it done. We got Sinatra to Europe. We're going to chill out for a couple of days and then start doing some shows. But the next morning, now the paparazzi, they were pissed because no pictures for them. The headline in the Italian newspaper, I can't give you the translation, but in Italian, but in English, big letters, no customs for Frankie. And the promoter, boy, he was all full of himself, how he pulled this off and this. But that was pretty impressive, no customs for Frankie. And it was a fun day. I'm going to post up a picture of me when I landed there. I think me going back to, I was born in America. My parents were born here, but you still feel a draw as an Italian American to Italy. Yes, still to this day. I'm getting ready to go on a nice trip at the beginning of July with my whole family. We're going to go to Rome and the Amalfi Coast. So we're looking forward to that. It'll be fun. Because when you go there with Sinatra, you're not coming out of the hotel. You're not sightseeing. There's none of that. There's no glamour in traveling with entertainers. You eat well. You go to nice restaurants. But there's no leaving the hotel. There's always fires to put out, things to check on. Because you're there to do a show, and you need to get the show done. I'm looking at an envelope that I had some of the souvenirs or ticket stubs from that tour, and the Hotel Majestic Roma is where I guess we stayed. Pretty nice. Via Veneto, Rome, Italy. Pretty good. I wanted to give a shout out to one of my son's friends. He has a company, Metro Team Sports. His name is Ben Borsellino. So he's a kid that went to grammar school and high school with my oldest son. And out of the goodness of his heart, this kid, he sent us some Kick the Can hoodie sweatshirts. Beautiful. So here we go. Now the podcast has got merch. And we're I tell you, hold me down because what a goof. I mean, it's unbelievable. So we got some sweatshirts. We're gonna post some pictures up. We're gonna concentrate on getting more listeners before we start selling or having having stuff available. Maybe if somebody comes on, we could get them a sweatshirt or something like that. But today we're going to be sponsored by Metro Team Sports. Mr. Ben Borsellino, awesome job. Kicked the can out of the park with those beautiful sweatshirts. And he's a great kid, great friend to my son, and I got to be friends with his parents. They're Bronx guys, Bronx people. The father, Ben Borsellino Sr., Mount St. Michael guy, one year behind me at the Mount. So there was an instant connection there. Good folks, when you meet good folks in your travels, you want to acknowledge it, And as I keep going with this podcast, I'll always reflect on the. I'm so fortunate that the people I come across, boy, always, almost everybody's so good, and no, no jerkies or clowns, as we say. So that's going to wrap up for today. I think moving forward, I'm going to be talking about expressions and nicknames of so many of the characters that were from, Arthur Avenue in the neighborhood. I'm working on getting some people on that could help me out with the nicknames and the origins of the nicknames, and I tell you, some of these nicknames are really funny, and the expressions that we've had, and that should be enjoyable for folks, especially. I think everybody likes a nickname. You watch The Sopranos. Everybody watches The Sopranos, full of nicknames. And that's the real world, and not just wise guys, just regular Joe Schmoes. Everybody had a nickname. Down Arthur Avenue, there was, 15 Frankies. That wasn't good enough. There was a half a dozen Eddies. You had to stretch them out. You had to give them a nickname. Some people, we were talking about last week was Googie, and actually Googie was his nickname. But Googie was so endearing. He had two nicknames. He also was called Muldoon. Don't ask you why. Don't know. But he was well deserving of two nicknames. Today is actually Googie's birthday. That's why I spoke about him last week. So I wanted to thank everybody for listening again. And don't forget, today was sponsored by Metro Team Sports with the Borsalinos. And we're still waiting for our first email, I think, at kickthecanpod@gmail. And naturally, the Facebook is great. Everybody is commenting or asking if I remembered this or I got that wrong, or it's great. It's great. The feedback is really good. So I hope you're enjoying it. And till next time, that's the Kick the Can podcast, episode 5.